Welcome to Everything Distributed. Today we are going to talk about firewall. So what's firewall? It's like the wall between yourself and bad people. So what can you do from the network perspective is that it can monitor and control network traffic by a set of security rules, or sometimes we call policy. And it can control both incoming and outgoing traffics. So here's an illustration. Here are the users inside the local area network, and here's a wall that block the user from inside to outside. Some of the websites are good, some of the websites are malicious. And then the usage for firewalls is that to go both ways. So first is security perspective, so that if someone outside that try to access maliciously from a local laptop, then the firewall should stop this kind of malicious traffic. And then the next one is that from the more privacy perspective. So sometimes the user might leak some of the sensitive information, then firewalls should be able to stop this kind of leakage. Then there are many other usage like your parental control, company policy that stop you from accessing a certain website. Then there are many different types of firewall. The one that's the most kind of powerful is called proxy-based firewall. And it's like a bar bouncer of bars. So that if you want to enter, then bar bouncer will need to stop you and then make sure that your identity is okay. You have the authority to enter, then you can go inside. So this kind of proxy-based firewall, intuitively, what we mean by proxy is that the outside traffic, outside website actually communicate with the proxy, which is analogous to bouncer in this case, and then go to the inside the local area network for user. But the weakness is that the bouncer, the proxy, is always a bottleneck, so you will experience an extra latency if you choose this kind of approach. And the other one is called stateful firewall, which is more relaxed. So the idea is that when you connect to someone, or like checking some website, actually you have some kind of communication channel or so-called open connection. Then this kind of firewall, that it will keep track of this kind of information for every open connection, and then do some analysis to see that where there could be some malicious behavior or some like pattern that doesn't look right. And one very useful usage for this kind of stateful firewall can also close the port for local area network. Then in this case, for the malicious like kind of attacker, try to scan for the open port, try to penetrate the user computers, then this kind of firewall can stop from that from happening. But the weakness is that this kind of firewall doesn't inspect every packet. So it's possible that a malicious attacker trick a client to make the connection. And then somehow the firewall thinks that this is a legit communication, then some kind of sensitive information could be leaked or learned by the malicious attacker. Then there are more advanced solutions like next generation firewalls. The idea is that you still do packet inspection, but like you don't really check every packet and then you to use a proxy approach. The idea is that if you have application web awareness, then you are going to inspect the packet payload or some kind of information inside the packet. And then by doing that, you can have a more fine-grained filtering rule to make sure that this kind of communication is legit. And then the other important thing is that I make sure the identity, meaning that both the user and then the website, you can use some kind of whitelist and blacklist to figure out like whether this connection is okay or not. And then if some code is that the firewall suspect that this could be something malicious, and it could use some isolated environment called sandbox to run the code, to isolate the code, and then to execute it first to make sure that piece of code is okay before sending it to the client. And then the other type of firewall is called WAF, Web Application Firewall. So traditional firewall is that protect the user, like local area user, from malicious website. Then web application is from the other direction. It protects web application from malicious user. So if you remember, like the like two or three videos ago, we talked about like some kind of attack that the malicious user could impacted this kind of malicious JavaScript code XSS attack inside the website, and then this website will affect all the other users. So that's like something can be stopped by this web application firewall. So the idea is that it's going to filtering and monitoring the HTTP traffic. So like this XSS attack or like kind of SQL injection that try to embed some malicious thing into the website or database could be catch and stopped by this kind of firewall. And then one important thing is that because of application, like sometimes the pattern or the communication needs to be changed or updated frequently. And then one characteristic for this kind of WAF is that the speed and ease to change its policy. Then the final type of firewall is that right now, lots of application and lots of system are deployed on cloud. So actually for cloud itself, we also need a firewall. So this is not protecting the user anymore. This is protecting the infrastructure or any type of application that's deployed on cloud. That's called firewall as a service. And sometimes as user, because a firewall is not as smart, so sometimes it blocks certain usage. Then as user that we will want to access some information that's not allowed by firewall, then we want to evade firewall. So there are several approaches. The first one is using VPN. Then you are build tunnel at the IP layer. And then the second one is called secure shell, SSH. Then you are still building a tunnel, but it's a different layer. And then the final one is called dynamic port forwarding. So what's tunnel? The idea is that the firewall will inspect traffic so that as a user, you cannot directly access certain website. And then what you are going to do is that you are going to build a tunnel to communicate with some server, which are firewall said, okay, you can communicate with the server, and then server will forward your traffic to this website, and then the information will go back. And both the VPN and SSH tunnel use this kind of illustration, but like the techniques is on a different layer. Then dynamic port forwarding is also similar, but it fixes one issue for building this kind of SSH tunnel because that it requires setting a different port for each website. So if the firewall block you from checking Facebook, blocking you from checking your LinkedIn, then if you want to access all those websites, you need to manually set up for each of those websites, which is not, which is pretty tedious. And then the other approach is called SOX proxy. Again, it's building a tunnel, but in a different layer. And it works very well for both TCP and UDP traffic, so that you don't need to set up for each website. Just say that, okay, I'm opening this port, that everything should come here. But that one downside is that when you do this kind of sub proxy thing, it doesn't really come with the encryption with this SOX protocol. Then if you use that, then you are susceptible to man-in-the-middle attack, meaning that someone could pretend to be the website and send you some fake information, or that if someone knows your IP address, that it could do that eavesdropping attack. Okay, so that's all I want to share today, why we need firewall, and then what are different types of firewall, and then what are common approaches to evading the firewall. That's all. Thank you.